Crypticus, Denver horror death metal band.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Patrick Bruss, thank you for joining us tonight here at TRVE Brewing for an interview.
It's an absolute pleasure.
Appreciate you taking the time. It's
I
very nice to
appreciate
meet you.
So, yes, what would you like to talk about tonight, sir?
Well, we would like to hear the origin story of Crypticus and how did Crypticus come to be? How did it start? Was it inspired by anything specific?
You're asking 20 questions there.
Okay.
Can we narrow it down?
Sure.
How did it begin?
Yes.
Honestly, because I couldn't get anyone else to be in my band. And I kept trying to get all these other people to do my kind of death metal, and none of them wanted to do it. So then I just kind of started doing it. Am I speaking loud enough, by the way? Started doing it on stereo equipment with Radio Shack keyboards and stuff like that because I couldn't get dudes to play. So, and then now, after years and years and years of struggling like that, other people are, oh, can I please be part of your band? Can I please be part of your band? So, and then I have now this amazing drummer, Vineyard. So that's kind of the quickest way I can sum up my story.
And when was that when you started?
That was like the mid '90s.
Okay.
Like pretty much the height of the grunge and wuss rock, like Hootie and the Blowfish and all that stuff. That was what was super hot in America. And I was trying to do this really nasty stuff that was, what was going on in Europe. It was when black metal was big too. So
right.
I think that's why no one wanted to play.
Has it always primarily just been you doing it, or have you had other band members along the way?
Here and there. I mean, my buddy Justin Lascelles has helped with guitar. For a period, I had these dudes, my buddies Priest and Kidwell. They were, so yeah, like I said, it was kind of transient until Vineyard. So the majority of it was.
And how did you find the drummer that you have now?
This is a really weird thing, because it would have been completely impossible without the internet. He lives in Norway, and I live here. We didn't even meet each other until probably a month before we started recording. It was because I was mixing for my buddy Raj's band in Norway. I think it was, I want to say it was this Rib Spreader that I was mixing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Rib Spreader. Really great Swedish death metal. And Brynjar was their drummer. And I'm a producer as well. So as I was producing their stuff, I kind of said, hey, is this guy available to record some stuff for me as well? And so it was just kind of a happenstance. But yeah, the dude is like, he's basically like David Lombardo too. Wait till you hear the new album.
Very excited to hear you.
I'll send you a copy.
Is the new album, has it just been released, or is it?
The new album, The Barons, just been released on Bandcamp on December 1st. Going to be released on CD by Riz Bat. Probably beginning of January. Yeah, I promise you, if you like any of my old crap, this is way better.
I've listened to quite a bit of your stuff, and I love it. I'm a big fan of old school death metal, and it's obviously, your stuff's obviously inspired heavily by, yes, exactly.
My hero, Steve-O, who is also a huge Crypticus fan, like my creepy uncle, he's a fan.
What are some of your specific influences? A lot of Swedish death metal.
Clearly, yeah. Well, yeah, we probably like a lot of the same stuff, but yeah. I started with all the typical, I loved Entomb and Dismember, and everyone kind of bites off of them. But then I'm into like some of the weirder stuff. Like I love like the deeper Swedish metal albums, like the God Macabre stuff. Like I really like Gormant. But like one of the ones that's the biggest influence on me, which nobody talks about, is Cemetery's Even Shade of Grey. Are you familiar with that album?
Yes, I am actually.
Great album. Yeah.
That is a great album.
It's got acoustics on it, keyboards on it, and it's a spooky. It's like heavy and yet atmospheric, and that's probably one of the biggest influences. I love it to be heavy, but atmosphere is a big thing for me. So I'd say a lot of movie soundtracks actually big influence on Crypticus. But I mean, in terms of metal, you can really just boil it down to it's really just Carcass, Disease, and then whatever other weird things I put on top of that.
Can you tell us a little bit about your discography and what all is in it, and how many full lengths do you have? And
Yeah, I should have brought that written down. Let's see.
I took a glance at it. But.
Well, this is our the Baron is our third full length. There's two previous that dedicated to the Impure and they call them bands, both on Razorback Records. Then we have a lot of digital EPs and stuff, which yeah, I was one of the early adopters of that. I always, like when Bandcamp came out, I signed up for that immediately. And so we started releasing a lot of weird bonus things through Bandcamp, which aren't really enough of a release for a CD or anything, like weird remixes and EPs and things. So I think altogether we have two EPs. This new thing we released called the Horror Grind Mixtape. I don't know if you've heard it. It's this weird kind of experimental thing we did. So, and then, yeah, so 2 albums, 2 EPs, the Horror Grind Mixtape, and then a single we're going to have.
And what would you say, theme-wise and lyrically, what inspires Crypticus? I know that in your description you say something about Lovecraftian horror and things like that.
Well, that's clearly where it started.
Right.
But actually, I kind of consider Crypticus to be like pulp horror metal. It's like I'm really obsessed with the not just Lovecraft, but kind of his contemporaries like Robert E. Howard, Clark Ashton Smith, all those. That whole era of horror writing for the pulps, when it was still fun and kind of sci-fi, and I kind of look at each Crypticus album as like an addition of like Weird Tales or something like that. Each little song is supposed to be like a little short story, and so like even the lyrics I write are really heavily based on kind of just the style of those writings. So even outside of metal, that's probably the biggest influence. Besides like all the typical stuff, horror movies, the occult, anything cool and creepy. I love.
Do you have any plans to play out live, or have you ever played out live before?
As Crypticus, no. I've played with other bands. I was like, as I discussed with you before the video, I was going to play with Axe Slasher. I've never liked it, to be honest with you. I went touring with, are you guys familiar with Seraphim Shot?
I've heard the name.
They were a local band here that hit the big time. I toured with them for a while as just a fill-in guitarist. I just never enjoyed that. Since I'm a studio dude, I think I'm more of I'm the guy that wants everything to sound perfect, and that's like the opposite of every metal show I've been to. So, I don't know. Maybe someday, but I would like to do it more as like a very special Crypticus performance than like a tour. But the problem is my buddy Brandon R lives in Norway, so we'll see.
So you don't have any specific plans to play live, but you would consider doing a special performance of some kind at some point, possibly.
Possibly, yeah.
Right.
We'll see. Nothing planned.
Right.
Nothing planned. Just if it comes up.
Right. Are there any bands here in town that you would want to do a show with if you were going to do something like that, or do you have anything?
Well, anybody here in town, to be honest, like any band, even the bands I'm not familiar with, just by virtue that they're here in town doing metal, I'd be willing to do anything with them. But to be honest, I kind of moved here when it was like the big scene had kind of died.
Right.
And now it's just starting to be resurrected. But I'm not originally from here, so it's like I wasn't here in like the original days of back when Cephalic was getting started on it. So a lot of those dudes I'm really just kind of meeting now. Yeah, and they Dave Otero, all those dudes that are hooked into the scene. I met them pretty late, but they've all been super nice to me. So yeah, even bands I'm not into musically, I believe in just having a brotherhood because we're all metal bands. So yeah, any band, regardless of quality, as long as they're toiling in metal, I believe in what they're doing, and I'd be willing to do something with it.
You mentioned that you do producing as well.
Yes,
what are some of the projects you produced?
Well, let's see. Recently, what got me my production break, as it were, was that Razorback Records allowed me to remaster the new Tygo catalog, which was kind of legendary death metal thing. That got my name up there. And so thanks to that, I got lucky enough to work with bands like Druid Lord, Rip Spreader, Axe Slasher. I've done like something like 70 releases since 2005. The Crypticus, Howling, Beyond Hell. Lots of great bands. But sadly, very few bands around here. I've mostly worked with European bands across the country. I would like to mix more local bands, but yeah, that's a huge passion of mine. Yeah, production.
Do you spend almost as much or more time doing that as you do on your own stuff?
Definitely more.
Yeah.
Well, and then part of it is I produce our stuff too, so it's like I get to pour all my obsession into that, and that's kind of, it's embarrassing to say, but I'm going to be candid here because this is a very important interview. I get obsessed with the production on my stuff, and that's why it takes so long. But other people's stuff, working on other people's stuff has given me a really great perspective. Like even while working on our album, I'll stop and work on another band's album, and then I'll come off of their album with a fresh perspective and go to mine. Like, man, I got to make mine sound as good as theirs sounded, and then go back and retweak it. So it's an obsession, but it's a passion, and I really do love it. So yeah, I used to send messages to bands on MySpace that had just cool demos, like, let me remix your demo for you. And yeah, I actually did that for a couple of bands, and gave their demos good sound. So yeah, this is a thing, it's an obsession. It's not necessarily a pleasure, it's a passion.
Right. That's awesome. Does Crypticus have fans around the world? Or?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thankfully, yeah, it's super awesome. And and that's all thanks to me. This is a band that could not exist without the internet.
Right.
Because, I mean, our drummer, there is no drummer without the internet, obviously. I've never met him ever face to face. Yeah, we've never been in the same room. That would be the interview, to interview us for the first time with like, and by the way, Patrick, your drummer's walking in, that would scare the hell out of me. But yeah, and then the music, thankfully being spread via the internet, even via illegal means, has been helpful to spreading the word. And so yeah, I especially India, for some reason, yeah, a lot like apparently I could go to India and just step out and there'd be like limo waiting for me. But yeah, it's super awesome. I got super great friends in India, which I'd like to shout out to my friend Kunal, by the way, who's super huge Crypticus supporter. He runs Transcending Obscurity, which you guys should check out.
Right on. So what are some future plans for Crypticus that you do definitely have at this point, other than the new album, The Barons?
Well, my big thing is I really want to I want to kind of recreate old releases with better mixes on vinyl at some point, if I can find anyone who's interested in putting that out. And then beyond that, yeah, it'll just be more like weird. I'm getting into these remixes. I'm trying to remix death metal. It's a long story. You gotta go to my band camp to check it out.
Cool.
But the Horror Grind mixtape is just something we release on Halloween. Every Halloween we release a free thing on our band camp. This year was the Horror Grind mixtape, and I really can't describe it. You just have to listen to it. But that's kind of what Crypticus is going to do more of. Like, it's more experimental, but the death metal part will never be compromised. That is my problem. It's always going to be grindy death metal stuff, but it will have weird, creepy atmospheres. Beyond that, really, I have no plans. It's just making more music, producing more bands, and hopefully meeting more friends like this guys.
Definitely. Well, I noticed you have a soundtrack in your discography.
Yes,
that's why I asked if you had any specific plans.
That didn't get any attention. I was so excited that I did that. That's for my friend Kyle Burnett. He made a short film that I was actually the bad guy in. It's not. He hasn't finished it really. This is the stupid part. The soundtrack's been out. No one's seen the movie. That's why. But yeah, everyone listens to it is like, what is this? Except for my close friends. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of 70s soundtracks like John Carpenter and Goblin and stuff like that. So yeah, it's completely non-metal. But yeah, you can just go to Bandcamp and listen to it. So did you get to check it out?
I actually have not listened to that one yet, but I did notice it and I wanted to ask you about it. So.
Please, if you do have any kind of appreciation for stuff like the spooky synthesizer, it's very much supposed to be early 70s, or I'm sorry, late 70s, early 80s horror movie soundtrack, all synthesizers. So take a listen and let me know what you think.
Okay, excellent.
It's not for everyone.
Right. That's awesome. That's unique. I mean, I don't know of any other bands here in town that have done soundtracks, metal bands anyway. So.
Yeah, well, I honestly am hoping to do more of that. And the thing was, it's like I did that not as Crypticus. but I thought it was for a horror movie. I don't want to do soundtracks for like romance. I wanted to be creepy stuff. So I figured I could probably do soundtracks as Crypticus the way Goblin does soundtracks as Goblin. That honestly, you're asking about further Crypticus plans, that would be good. I would love to do some more. Send me your horror movies, I'll give you a soundtrack.
That would be awesome.
I would love that.
Yeah, that would be great. That's awesome. Well, we want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us tonight, Patrick. And,
no, sir. I want to thank you guys.
We're very much looking forward to some more feedback on your new record when it's had a chance to circulate amongst the metal fans out there.
Well, you guys spread the word from you guys have been so super kind to me on online. This is the first time I've met these gentlemen, and yeah, no, seriously, I appreciate all the support.
Of course, no problem. Well, thank you, and I hope you have a great evening.
Well, I will do. Let's drink some beers. How's that?
All right. Thank you.